everyone. This is the Surly Grognards for May 12th, 2014. This is Peter Bowman, and as usual, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Eric Carlson. How are you doing tonight, Eric?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. So, we were coming up with a topic for tonight's show, and we were sort of struggling for one we wanted to do. And then Eric suggested this, and I decided we should go with it, because clearly I haven't raised my blood pressure enough recently.
Yeah, totally pulled it out of my ass. Like, what am I sitting on? Oh, things I hate. Okay.
So, yes, we're talking about characters we hate. And not just characters we merely dislike, but pretty much for folks and stuff we really hate.
Yeah.
So if I sputter out and eventually have an aneurysm on air based purely on my hatred of something, you'll understand why.
You'll be able to tell because I'll be sitting there laughing.
Yeah, exactly. These are characters that we really detest. You know, ones that, honestly, if the power of my hate could actually vaporize them, it would. I'll admit some of these are merely characters I dislike with the white-hot intensity of 1,000 stars, but hate is a very strong word. But some of these characters... I
usually reserve my hate for things that are real, but...
Yeah, same. But there are some fictional characters that, oh my god.
Yeah.
So, where do you want to start, Eric?
Well, you mentioned Shinji in the lead-up. Let's do Shinji Ikari.
Yeah, Shinji Ikari.
I want to make something clear. I like Evangelion. I honestly really like that series. But Shinji infuriates me because he's so close to being a good, interesting character.
No, that's actually most characters that we end up hating, honestly, pretty much generally fall into that category.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, Shinji might almost be better if he was worse.
Yes. He'd be tolerable then. And you could just dismiss him as a bad character.
Right, exactly.
But the problem... Here's the thing. I get Shinji's pathos. I understand why he's a whiny brat. He's 14 years old, he's forced into a war he doesn't want to participate in, and his life pretty much sucks, right up to and including that point in his life.
Yeah, and he's probably got the worst father ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. But, Shinji's got a lot of good reasons to whine. The problem is his solution to everything is to run the fuck away, even though he is one of 3 people capable of preventing the extinction of the human race.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what irritates me. He completely runs away from the fact that he has... Only he can save these people, he constantly runs away and whines about it.
Yeah.
And I get it, you don't like it, dude, but seriously, you're the only one that can do it. Just fucking man up, get in the fucking cockpit, and punch the Eldritch Abomination.
Yeah,
And that's what annoys me about him.
I would hate Shinji more than I do if it wasn't that I dislike most of the other characters also, so...
Kind of like Asuka.
I don't like
myself, but...
Yeah, I don't like Evangelion. I mean, as you all know, I'm not a fan of the show. Right. There's a lot of really good concepts in it, and it started off as something I kind of enjoyed, but it rapidly went downhill for me. So yeah, but I dislike Shinji for basically all the same reasons Eric does. I don't hate him as much as some of the other characters I'm going to mention.
Yeah, he's not that far up there, but he's
somewhere to start, though.
Put on your big boy pants, man. I understand you're only 14, but you kind of gotta grow up at this point.
Yeah. Shinji's bad, but honestly, he bothers me less than some other manga/anime characters. As much as I dislike him, and I dislike Evangelion, I don't loathe him the way I loathe some other characters. One that was mentioned in the chat, and I don't dislike him as much as some people do. I don't hate him as much as some people do. The problem is that he's someone that there's a significant crowd of people who really do like him, and I don't understand why. I don't think most of them frequent our chat. But the Sasuke from Naruto.
Oh, Captain Emo bitch?
Yes.
You know what? He annoys me a lot less than Naruto. Because, you know what? I just dismiss him as just an annoying whiny git.
You don't understand.
Too hard to be cool. And
that's because you went
right off my back.
You bounced off the series way before Sasuke gets bad.
Okay.
Oh, lordy. You missed when he goes all evil.
You know what? That might actually make him interesting.
No, it doesn't. That's the worst part.
They just okay.
He becomes less interesting.
That's impossible.
No.
He's so utterly boring. He is.
Oh God.
He is the archetype of the growly loner done wrong.
He absolutely is. You are correct, Eric.
And like so many other ones, he's just there. He exists. Doesn't affect me one way or the other. Not like Naruto, who's I don't know what it is about the guy. I should like him. Something about him just grates on me like nails on a chalkboard while being drilled in the teeth.
Oh no, Sasuke's awful. He just, as the series goes along, he just becomes, I mean, it's like, okay, so the problem is that he goes evil, which honestly I have no problem with. And I don't read the series closely, so I don't really get the full. This is part of the reason I don't have the full-on absolute hate for him that a lot of people do. And honestly, for Naruto, a large part of it, Eric, is the voice actor for him is awful.
In both versions, I understand that, but even like turning off the sound and reading it, just something about his stubborn naivete just makes me want to shove his face in a wood chipper.
I'm not a fan of his either. But that is irrelevant.
Because Naruto's close to being a good character.
He's a fairly archetypical shonen protagonist.
Yeah.
He annoys me. I don't like him. But the thing about Sasuke is that he goes evil, and then they basically spend an entire year's worth arc focusing on him. And,
Wow, that if I had enjoyed the show, that would have ruined it for me.
Uh-huh.
Luckily, I don't, so it's not an issue.
Exactly. And he's just got these increasingly bullshit powers that are, like your hero in most shonen series gets bullshit powers.
Right.
But, like, Sasuke is like Aizen level bullshit.
Show, right.
Sasuke is like Aizen level bullshit.
Yeah, but Aizen was at least interesting up until the last arc.
Yes, exactly. Aizen was interesting at all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. Spend a year on a character that you had no interest in, and in the process make you hate him. Yeah, I get it. Yep. I understand.
He's awful. Sasuke is terrible. Okay, so I want to go on to are there any other anime/manga characters that you can name that you really hated?
Not really. Most of the time when I run into an unavoidable character that I hate in an anime or manga, I just drop the series. It's usually an indicative of a series in general of the series I dislike. For example, I could list everyone in Sword Art Online, but why bother?
Oh God. I'm sure I'm blanking on some characters.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more out there, and they'll probably crop up as we talk about others.
Oh no, Eric.
Yeah.
Min-Mei.
Oh, fucking Min-Mei.
Uh-huh.
Oh God, I keep on forgetting that she's in my favorite anime.
both Min-Mei and
her dipshit.
Actually, her cousin's worse.
Her cousin's worse.
Min-Mei at least has some vague,
She's at least trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
She's in the same way a retarded puppy does.
She's obnoxious and irritating and infuriating, but she doesn't make. I don't loathe her as a person.
Not the way. What was his name? Kyle?
Kyle Lin.
Kyle Lin. Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna date my cousin. I'm gonna be her manager for a singing career. I'm gonna get upset at her for no reason and throw empty gin bottles at her. Also, I hate the military despite the fact I'm living... They are gracious enough to let me live on their spaceship and save me from the horrible giant aliens trying to wipe out mankind.
Yep.
Because war is never justified, except when horrible aliens attack us and we have to fight for our very survival. But war is never justified.
Right. God, Kylan's awful. Oh
yeah,
my God. He is honestly one of the worst characters
just really
in any anime.
And he's infuriating because he's just so... He's like that one kid you meet in college or maybe high school that thinks he knows all the answers, and he's read like a couple like philosophy books, and he runs around calling everyone little Eichmanns for not agreeing with him. And you really just want to punch his stupid smug face and cram him into like something horrible, like I don't know, a wall of hungry pig faces.
No, there's an image. But yeah, oh God, he's awful. But yeah, mid-May. Ugh. Real Planeswalker in the chat mentioned Miko from Order of the Stick.
Which one was Miko?
She's the paladin that shows up. I don't know if you got...
I didn't bind her so much.
Okay, here's the thing with Miko. Miko is an antagonist.
Yeah, you're
and
supposed to hate
she is designed to be disliked. She is everything she is designed to be everything you hate about people who play paladins.
It's kind of her shtick, honestly.
That is what she's designed to do. So I dislike her. I dislike her as a person. If she was a real person, I would hate her. As a character, she's an extremely well done, non-villain antagonist.
Yeah. She's a parody, is what she is.
Oh, absolutely. Well, no, she's not even really a parody.
Well, everyone in Order of the Stick's a parody.
The thing is that she is designed to elicit exactly that reaction.
Yeah.
That is the author's intent. And it is achieved brilliantly.
Which is kind of how I feel about Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
He's a vile little shit, but you know what? He serves his purpose exactly the way he's supposed to.
You're supposed to dislike this person.
You're supposed to hate this little fucker. You're supposed to despise every aspect of his being and cheer when he dies.
And see, that's the big difference between like what we've been talking about so far. Is the people we're talking about are not people we're supposed to hate.
Right. Well, Cersei Lannister from the books is probably someone we're supposed to hate.
Yeah, okay.
She's on my list.
Yeah.
I really fucking hate her in the books. Partially because I didn't hate her until she started getting her own point of view chapters. In which case I realized the depth of her narcissism is sociopathy. And I really just despised the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Her complete inability to admit when she's done something wrong. Her conviction of her own importance and false sense of brilliance. It's just normally when Martin starts giving people point of view chapters, it's when you're supposed to start liking them. It made me hate her more. It moved her from mildly interesting antagonist to someone I want to do horrible things to.
Right. Understand that completely. Oh, absolutely. I detest her also. Speaking of prose and fictional characters in prose, there's a trilogy of sci-fi novels. I mentioned it in an earlier episode. The Dread Empire Falls series by Walter John Williams. I think it's his name. It is. One of the two lead characters is a woman by the name Lady Caroline Sula, who is... It's very clear you're supposed to be on her side. And to a degree, you are. I am, because she's fighting for the side that I'm sort of rooting for, despite the fact that there are plenty of people on that side who are morons and I hate. But for the general part, she's fighting along the same time as the other side as the other main character, whom Gareth Martinez, who I'm actually a fan of. I enjoy. And they've got some sort of weird. The two of them have sort of asexual chemistry, which is fine. Whatever. That's part. I can accept that. The problem is that she is. It turns out that she is one of the most reprehensible people I have ever read. I mean, she's not quite Cersei bad.
Okay.
But dear God, oh, she is like Cersei. She's sociopathic. I mean, she just doesn't have empathy for other people at all. She's a genius by attribution. You never really see her being particularly brilliant on sort of in her own scenes. Everyone talks about her that she is, absolutely a tactical and strategic genius.
Right.
And it's like, God, and basically things go badly between her and Martinez, which are entirely her fault, but then she immediately starts blaming him and decides that she hates him and wants him to die. Oh God, I hate her. And then she ends up at the end wanting to get back together with him because reasons. And it's like the author was making you root for them trying to make you root for them to get back together, except that they don't. It's supposed to be somewhat tragic, except it's not. I basically did a fist pump when I realized that they were not. Yes! Dodged a bullet there. It's a series of books I want to like more than I do, because there's a lot of really interesting stuff in them. But there's one of the two main leads I want who gets about half the series is told from her point of view. And I want
you have to slog through that shit. Right.
And I want to drop kick her off the tallest building I can find and without a parachute. Preferably with lead weights around her waist. And explosives.
You're considerably less violent than I am. I would have fed her to rabid hyenas, personally, but...
That's boring.
That's because you're not watching with popcorn.
There's something very satisfying about someone falling for, several hundred stories, hitting the ground and then exploding.
As witnessed by every 80s action movie ever.
I see exactly, Eric! You got sort of that image of... Actually, I was thinking Looney Tunes, but... Like every time Wile E. Coyote falls off a cliff.
That's true, yeah.
See?
I always felt bad for Wile E, though, because he's trying so hard.
Oh yeah, I did too. I rooted for Wile E. Coyote also. The Roadrunner was a jerk.
Yeah. So was Tom and Jerry.
Absolutely.
Which one was the mouse?
Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry was a jerk also.
Yep. And yet you're supposed to root for them. Well, for Jerry you are. You're very clearly and you're very clearly supposed to root for the Coyote in those cartoons, but he is far more sympathetic. But you're also supposed to look forward to him failing spectacularly because it's hysterical,
hilarious,
right?
Why does he keep buying from Acme?
It's his only option, I guess. Who else is going to sell to a coyote on credit?
In the middle of the fucking desert,
right? Who else is going to deliver to a coyote on credit in the middle of the desert? I mean.
Get what you pay for.
Exactly. All right.
Captain Freetime mentions Neelix, and yeah, he's on the list for me.
Oh.
Again, Neelix could have been an interesting character, but he's so obvious. You're supposed to think he's charming, but he's just such a shithead, honestly.
The writing for him is awful. Because the guy who plays him is a brilliant actor.
Yeah, I've seen him in other stuff, and he's great, but he's just so... He shoves himself into every possible situation, gets annoyed whenever you alter anything at all. He lords whatever small amount of power he has over anyone who he can. All the while, you're supposed to think this is charming, but it just comes off as just... that dick who's being complete cock but thinks he's being charming.
Yeah, he's awful. He's a terrible character.
He's a terrible, terrible character, and I really hate him, partially because, you know what, I should have liked him, because he's someone from outside the Federation, living on a Federation ship, trying to understand them and be an ambassador between them and other people. That's a really cool idea. That gives you an outsider view of the Federation, how they do things. That could be really cool. Except DS9 did it so much better with Quark.
Well, the problem is that the writing in Voyager is generally crap.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, it's not to say DS9 or Next Gen didn't have its fair, or even the original series didn't have their fair share of truly awful episodes.
Oh, they did. They absolutely did. We've talked about that many times.
Yeah, but yeah, Neelix is just Neelix.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I can't even work up the effort to want to do something horrible to him. I just want him to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, dude. He's not a threat to me or anything I care about. He's just a constant irritant, and that makes me hate him more. Just leave. Go away.
Shoo. I mean, yeah, they're... God.
Leave your cute blonde girlfriend. She can hang out, but you gotta go.
Actually, I didn't even like her that much. Again, I don't like most of the characters.
By comparison, honestly.
What?
I liked her by comparison.
Sure, she's less awful. It's like, stubbing your toe is less bad than having your hand cut off.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, the fact that he claims to be an expert at everything, even if it's the first time he's ever fucking heard of it.
Yeah.
Like...
Oh, God.
I'm an expert in warp core mechanics. You are? Certainly. What's this button do?
I don't like Neelix. Rhea Planeswalker in the chat mentions the entire cast of Mad Men. That's a very complicated thing.
That's very complicated.
Okay, here's the thing: is most of the characters in Mad Men are not likable people.
They're not intended as such.
Right.
And the thing is, I enjoy watching them doing bad things.
Yeah, it's really weird. Mad Men is a show that, by all rights, I should hate.
Mad Men is a dramatic version of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia for me.
I can see that.
It's a bunch of people that are reprehensible, and I hate doing bad things, and I enjoy watching them. I wouldn't ever want to hang out with these people, but I enjoy watching them. So that they're not on the list.
Yeah.
The entire cast of Big Bang Theory, however.
Oh God, that's just a terrible show. But
it's a terrible show that I hate, and the entire cast just comes across as, I don't know what it is about them. It's like they're trying so hard to be nerd chic.
Well, the problem with the Big Bang Theory is it comes off. I'm not sure this is actually intentional. In fact, from what I understand, it's not intentional. And the fact that Will Wheaton willingly associates himself with the show tells me it's not intentional. But it really comes across as the show is laughing at nerds, not with them.
Yes.
And that's that's and
yeah, it's a problem.
And I want to hate it more than I dislike it. I think it's a bad show, but it's very clear that
I don't hate it. I just hate the characters in it.
It's very clear that the people behind it are genuinely trying to make a show that is about nerds, that is funny, and is not laughing at them, is trying to laugh with them, because otherwise they wouldn't get some of these people they have on the show on it.
Yeah.
But they miss the mark so badly.
And so often. Like I said, it feels like someone trying to be nerd chic, but... And that in itself is a loaded phrase, nerd chic. Because nerds are nerds, and whether... It comes... that brings with the whole baggage of like the fake gamer girl thing, which is something I detest.
Yeah,
the judging nerds by their nerd credentials and blah blah blah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hate all that. I want to make myself clear there, but it feels like disingenuous and I don't know. Something about it just rankles me.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, again, and it's very clear that that's not the writer's intent. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Or the actor's intent, or the director's intent.
It's not the actor's intent. I don't know what I'd say about the writers. because so often the fact that someone plays D&D is the punchline, or some other geeky thing. And it's like, you're trying to make a show about nerds, stop making fun of the things nerds do. You could point out the ridiculousness of some of it. Community does a great job with their D&D episode.
Well, that's because Community is well written.
Community is a great show, honestly.
But yeah, I don't actually hate any of the characters in Big Bang Theory. I just don't. I don't care enough about the show to develop hatred for them. It's like, I think it's a terrible show and I don't like it, but it just doesn't work me up enough to develop hatred for anything in there.
I think that it's so. What makes me hate it is that it's so often used as. It's so often used as a point of reference by people.
Yeah, well,
and that's what bugs me about it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, back to Mad Men though for a second.
Yeah.
Where these are bad people intentionally, with the exception of, for at least most of the series, Peggy, who is one of the few lone, actually decent people in the entirety of the show for the most part. Basically, her and Joan to a degree.
Yeah.
Joan is basically a very jaded is a decent person who's just incredibly jaded.
I haven't watched a lot of Mad Men, but what I have watched, I've enjoyed.
It's very well written. I really enjoyed the first few seasons. The last season and a half have not been sort of. So at any rate, I like. But yeah, the characters in Mad Men are for the most part reprehensible, awful people. But the reason I still don't hate them quite the same degree I hate some other stuff is that's partially their intent, and the writers often let you see their moments of humanity despite that, because they're all still actually almost all of them are still actually very human, and still have moments
to parody, really.
Right.
They from what I've seen.
They sort of they are very well. The thing is, it's very clearly telling. They are definitely most of them are very clearly products of their time.
Yeah.
And their environment. And they all do. Most of them do have moments where you actually see them being legitimately being human, and are not that bad. That like, despite some of the really awful things they're doing, they have moments where they aren't that horrible. And some of them do change as the series goes along. Some of them don't. And some of them don't in ways you really kind of wish they would as people. But at any rate, but back to characters we hate, because that's sort of the whole point of this.
As opposed to shows.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go with Jason Todd.
Ooh.
The second Robin and subsequent Red Hood.
Okay.
And partially is because I've read some of the Jason Todd Batmans, and he's comes across as a bitchier version of Shinji Ikari.
Damn.
He still goes out and does the job, so kudos to him. But he comes across as just resenting the whole idea of what he's doing. Right. So why even bother putting on the costume at that point? Why be a character in this? But what really makes me dislike him is his return as the Red Hood. Because the Red Hood is just such an obvious attempt to be cool, Iron Age, vigilante, and he's so misplayed. This is probably the fault of DC's management. God knows they've made enough mistakes lately. But he's just so... He'd be so great as a Batman villain, as sort of an antagonist, trying to do the same job that Batman is doing, but using methods that Batman finds are reprehensible, so they come into conflict. But that's not what they do with him!
So you mean the way he's pitched during the Under the Red Hood movie?
Yeah, in Under the Red Hood movie, he's great. It's great. They should have kept him that way all the time, but instead they tried to make him into a fucking hero, and not even just a sympathetic anti-hero sort of maybe villain. No, he's just so infuriatingly and smug. He's so smug. Just smug little shit. He's like that. He's like the leader of the cool guy frat in Revenge of the Nerds. Except you're supposed to like him.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm going to stick with comic books, actually. Superboy Prime.
I'm going to confess, Superman Prime punching his way back into reality kind of endeared him to me, and just for the sheer absurdity of it.
Oh, God. Superboy... Linkara has covered the failures of Superboy Prime in a lot of ways. I'm going to say this about Superboy Prime, and the reason I mentioned before we started recording that there are certain levels of complexity with him, that reasons I want to hate him less than I do. Because as a concept, oh my God, it's a great concept.
Oh yeah, it's a great concept. It's someone fighting to save his own reality from being collapsed during what was
it's not even that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the concept that he's Superman on Earth, where he's, you know, he's basically the only
non-superpowered Earth. Yes.
Right. And there are comic books about Superman on the Earth. I mean,
yeah,
that's a great concept. And Kurt Busiek proceeded to show you why this is a great concept when he did his little graphic novels, his miniseries Secret Identity, where he basically does that and retells the story of basically Superboy Prime, except does it well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Kurt Busiek's amazing. If you have not read Secret Identity, go read it. It's amazing.
Busiek's very good at his job. And should be paid more than he is. Whatever he's getting paid, I guarantee it's not enough.
Oh my God. Secret Identity is amazing because it's all these little wonderful details, like, you know, so the main character is named Clark Kent, and he grew up in a small town in Kansas, not Smallville. And his parents were named Kent, and they named him Clark because they thought it would be funny because of the comic books.
Right.
And then he developed superpowers. And people keep trying to set him up with people named Lana. Or Lois.
That's actually really funny. I need to read that.
Oh, it's great. He eventually gets set up with this woman named named Lois. Except her last name's not Lane. It's like Chandra. She's Indian, of Indian descent.
Right.
But apparently her parents kept trying to set her up with people named Clark. Because they thought it was funny, too. And they eventually fall in love and get hitched, and it's great. And it's a wonderful series. And like, it's all about his interactions with the government because they want to capture and study him because they're completely freaked out by him.
Right. It's like, oh, there's this guy that can't be hurt by our weapons, and we can't stop him. If he decides to go dark side, there's nothing we can do to stop him.
It's more interesting than that. That's all I'm going to say, because he goes through immense efforts to make sure that he's never seen, really, because he realizes that, you know, people ask questions. So when he's doing his superhero stuff, and part of the reason he dresses up as Superman is to make people sort of doubt what they're seeing.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
It's really funny. But there's a wonderful scene where he's confronting one of the guys in charge of the operation trying to capture him and such. And he talks about it, and this is when he ends up making a deal with the government. He basically points out to the guy that you guys are abjectly terrified of the things I might do. And you keep doing this. Has it ever occurred to you that you don't want to make me an enemy? Think of all the good things I do. All I ever do is help people. Do you really want to change that? And the guy's like, well, fuck. It's like, all I ever do is help people.
So it really strike you as a good idea to force me into changing that.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons that I loathe Superboy Prime, is because there's the core of something absolutely brilliant in there that is covered in complete and utter crap.
Mm.
And is in a terrible comic book.
Yeah, like I said, the sheer absurdity of some of the things Superboy Prime does endears him to me in that sort of a Sort of a retarded puppy kind of way.
He's such a terrible character. Oh god, I hate him so much. When you were talking about Jason Todd, it reminded me of another character I dislike intensely.
Who's that?
And I loathe. Well, you were talking about the whole vigilante, antagonist to the heroes thing, and that, of course, brings one character to mind whom I hate.
Probably the Punisher.
That would be it.
Yeah. Yeah, you hate the Punisher.
I loathe the Punisher. Okay, when the Punisher is written as an antagonist in someone else's comic, I have zero problems with him.
I can totally see that, and I see where you're coming from.
Anytime I've ever read anything where it's his book, the amount of loathing and hatred that oozes out of me is just, it's just like, he's a villain.
But Deathstroke got his own book, and so did Magneto briefly, and
I hate those books too, I'll be honest. But the thing is, Deathstroke, not as bad as the Punisher.
No, Deathstroke's straight up front, like, I do what I do.
He's a mercenary.
For monies. You have the monies, I will do the job.
And honestly, you could write a really good, interesting story about someone like the Punisher. Honestly, you really could. You'd have to basically build
the Punisher or Deathstroke?
The Punisher.
Yes.
You could easily write a good story about the Punisher. Yeah. I freely admit that there are probably good Punisher stories out there. Freely admit that. I just don't like him within the context of the Marvel Universe as a main character.
I understand where you're coming from with that. Punisher kind of gets grandfathered in for me, honestly.
I can understand that also, honestly.
Right, like, he's just a character I'm not terribly interested in that exists in the Marvel Universe.
Yep. Oh, you know who's another character I absolutely loathe?
Who's that?
Okay, first off, someone in the chat mentioned Venom. I don't loathe Venom. Because for the most of the time, Venom is a bad guy. And is an interesting bad guy.
Yes, most of the time Venom's a bad guy and an interesting bad guy. And there's a lot of really interesting things that could be done with the Venom, and sometimes is.
Right. Carnage, on the other hand...
Carnage is just Venom Extreme!
I loathe Carnage with a deep and abiding passion. Oh god, I loathe Carnage.
The design of Carnage I like, that sort of black with the red seeping through and everything. I really like the visuals of Carnage.
Well, the visuals of them basically...
the constantly waving tendrils. I love the visuals of Carnage.
The visuals are very interesting, and the thing about him is they almost echo Spidey's actual costume.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. Which makes it it's a really cool counterpoint. The problem is that he is the least interesting villain I have ever read.
Blarg, I'm gonna kill people, because that's fun. Rawr.
He's a serial killer. Yeah. With superpowers. And yet
Except they never explore the degree of his psychopathy or what makes him be a serial killer or anything. It's just I just kill people. That's
he's a waste of space. God, I loathe Carnage.
Yeah, Carnage is Venom light as far as writing goes.
Yeah.
He's more visually interesting than Venom. That's
Absolutely.
about it.
Yep. I'd agree with that completely. Oh god, there are just a bunch of characters. Think about superhero comic books, there are a bunch of characters I don't like. Just as a general rule of thumb. Most of them are invented by Rob Liefeld, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Most of Liefeld's inventions... I simply don't like. They simply bounce off.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Most of them do. I agree completely.
Move on.
Yeah,
Cable, whatever, dude. Go ahead and be your badass Iron Man.
Yeah, whatever. Cable. Yeah.
And it's cool. You're none of the cool things in Iron Age.
I don't hate Cable. I don't even dislike Cable. I just don't care.
I like a well-written Deadpool. Deadpool, well done and well-written, is funny and hilarious in that kind of horrible way. And when he's not, he's just sort of there, mildly irritating.
Yeah, I agree with that. I look at Deadpool and I go, oh, really? All right, fine, sure. If people enjoy Deadpool, I don't have a problem with it. I understand why people enjoy Deadpool.
Yeah, Deadpool, when he's done right, is hilarious, and I really enjoy him. When he's done poorly, he's just meh.
Yeah, I wish I could work.
Yeah, I just... But most of Liefeld's creations, I just sort of... yeah. Okay, dude. I don't think I hate any of them, honestly. I just don't care. Which might be a worse endorsement, honestly.
Yeah, most of Liefeld's characters suffer the problem that they're not actually characters, is the biggest problem.
They're a concept, and that's about it.
Well, yeah. Honestly, I hate his art more than I hate his writing, and that's saying something.
Yeah, his art's so...
awful. Terrible.
Yeah. And
mind-numbingly bad.
Thing is, I look at his shit and I can see what he's doing. He's taking 10,000 different shortcuts to achieve something passable, and then stopping.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's lazy is the problem.
Mm-hmm. I'm
not good at drawing feet, so I'll just never draw feet.
Which led to one of my favorite things ever, actually. In Stormwatch with Fuji. The character whose legs are entirely just trunks, intentionally to poke fun at.
Well, yes.
They're just they're columns. They had little columns to poke fun at Rob Liefeld, who can't draw feet. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, instead of, learning to draw feet, he just doesn't draw feet.
Does everything again to obscure them. Oh yeah, this perspective, you can't see his feet. That's totally what's happening here.
And his weird concepts about action and how things move.
Yeah.
That I don't understand.
And anatomy.
And bad anatomy is just bad anatomy.
Oh, no, but some of it's so comically bad, Eric.
It's true.
The muscles on muscles are among my favorites.
His drawings of women are hilarious, and they're...
Oh god, they're so
His
awful.
drawings of women, if I didn't know he was being serious, I would assume was a parody of hypersexualization.
I agree. If I thought they were parody, they'd be brilliant, but they're not. Oh my god. Oh, Green Octochat mentions he liked Fuji. Okay, here's the thing. Stormwatch became a good comic book for a long while.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Wardells took over.
Exactly. Wardells took over and said, hey, wait a minute. There's some decent character concepts in here. What if I actually write them as actual characters?
Yeah.
And we get good artists on it.
Fuji was the Japanese mecha guy, right?
He was the gaseous entity in the inside the suit.
Next suit. Yeah, Fuji was awesome.
Right, he was a great character. There are a lot of good characters in Stormwatch.
Like I said, once Warren Ellis took over, it was a good comic.
Absolutely. It worked brilliantly, right? And it transitioned into the Authority, and that was interesting. Even if I'm not a big fan, I appreciate the Authority until Ellis left, and then it went to shit.
Yeah.
With alarming rapidity.
About Midnighter and Apollo being a couple. Lots of subtle hints. Nothing was ever made a big deal out of it. It was just this thing, and everyone's sort of like, oh, they're a couple, whatever.
Yes.
And then Warren Ellis left, and suddenly it was a big deal. They're romantically involved. It's the end of everything. Isn't this cool? We're being progressive.
See,
no, you were being progressive before, and now you're just being silly.
I mean, it's just like the glorious insanity of some of the stuff in Wild. Actually, in the Authority, there's a character in the Authority I absolutely detest and loathe.
Is it the Doctor?
Hole in one, Eric. Fuck the Doctor.
Because he's just he's very anti-Peter. Not in that he's like a giant pile of Iron Agey stuff, which you hate and I occasionally enjoy, but like.
Oh god.
He's so ridiculously overpowered.
Well, it's not just the overpoweredness of him. It's that he's a moron.
Yes.
And he thinks he's brilliant.
I think that's part of the joke, honestly.
And he's reprehensible.
I've heard the enough times to think, no, I think that's part of the joke. They keep on the team because he's a monstrously powerful sorcerer. But he's really dumb and thinks he's smart. Everyone just keeps reinforcing it because they don't want to get turned into trees.
Oh God, I just loathe him. Oh. Yeah, oh my God. I mean, the rest of the characters, like the engineer, yeah, she's fine, you know.
The engineer's pretty cool. I like Angie. I like Angie a lot, actually.
Midnighter's fun sometimes. A lot of fun sometimes. Same with Jack. Jack's a lot of fun sometimes.
I like that Jack helped Tokyo beat up Kansas City.
Yes, that was absolutely brilliant.
That was awesome.
Turns out Jack's been genetically engineered to fight the traveling backwards through time Kansas City, which travels backwards through time to destroy and devour other cities.
Because
so
it somehow achieved sentience and hates cities.
And so to do this, Jack was engineered to basically be the perfect city dweller and to merge with Tokyo, turn into a giant battlesuit, and destroy the time-traveling Kansas City. Yes, this happened.
Because awesome.
And yes, it was as gloriously insane as it sounds. Because Warren Ellis is a madman.
Silver Age is the entirety of the Silver Age.
So, almost. In an entirely Iron Age-y kind of way.
Yes. Which is why I love it.
It's just one of those, what just happened? Okay. You know, and Jenny Sparks is a great character. And she's the moral center of the team. Well, that's something of a problem when Jenny Sparks is your moral center.
Yeah. But then you've got, like, you've got Planetary with Snow and the drummer and Chiquita Wagner. And...
Well, yeah, that was also well written.
That was also... I also love that, and that was also all Warren Ellis. And the bit where they have the crossover, because they exist in the same universe.
Yep.
And it's really just... Planetary using an incursion of horrible Lovecraftian monstrosities to distract the authorities so they can go onto their spaceship and download all the information.
Right. At any rate, yeah, but I loathe the Doctor with a deep and abiding passion.
I don't hate the Doctor, I just find him kind of...
He's such an awfully written character. Even Ellis can't save him as a character.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ellis is a really good writer. Even if I come to the conclusion...
he was a really good writer. When he had people that could tell him no and an editor, he was a really good writer.
Well, yes.
Somewhere along the lines, he became enough of a celebrity they could do whatever he wanted, and
that's usually the death knell.
Crawled up his own asshole.
Yeah, well... There's also the fact that, you know, he is... he also really shouldn't be allowed anywhere near superheroes anymore, because he doesn't like superheroes, and he really shouldn't write them.
I'm convinced he did for a while.
Oh, he very clearly did.
At some point, he just became completely disillusioned with them, and that disillusionment turned to hatred.
Yep. Absolutely.
But yeah, somewhere along the lines, Warren Ellis became too big of a celebrity and crawled up his own asshole. So, kind of like Alan Moore half the time.
Well, Moore's a madman.
Yeah, well, Moore has the excuse of being completely batshit insane.
Bonkers! But in a way that actually occasionally turns out good stuff.
Yeah.
Unlike Frank Miller.
Unlike Frank Miller, that's exactly what happened to Frank Miller. He crawled up his own asshole, started eating his own, like, pseudo-fascist bullshit, and, yeah, just completely devolved into right-wing lunacy.
Yeah, well, it also didn't help that Miller wasn't as good a writer as Moore was to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love you, The Dark Knight Returns. It's a great comic. It's an important comic, but... It's no V for Vendetta.
It doesn't stand up as well as Watchmen or V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Not even close. It does not stand up well at all, honestly.
Although I do still like his art. That sort of sketchy, mad scrabbling. In his older stuff, not so much his newer stuff.
Okay, yeah, I can accept that, yes.
Sin City is where he perfected it and then lost it. As far as I can tell.
Yeah, I can accept that. So, let's see. Are there any other characters you want to mention that you loathe and hate, Eric?
Oh, I'm sure there are more, but can't think of any on top of my head.
Are there any video games that you can think of?
I'm completely drawing a blank.
Really interesting.
I know that they're like sanctimonious little fuckwits. As soon as their names get mentioned, the bile will rise in my throat, and I'll start like having horrible fantasies about like barbed dildos and chainsaws. But
oh dear lord. All right, I'm going to ask you about at least one or two characters that exist that are generally get a lot of hate. Okay. Jar Jar Binks.
You know what? I understand the hate behind Jar Jar Binks. I just can't bring myself to care.
That's sort of where I am with Jar Jar, honestly. Like, he's an awful character. He really is.
Jar Jar is an awful character. He's a pathetic attempt at comedic writing with children in mind without understanding either children or comedy.
Yeah, he's a badly done comedic Disney sidekick. Yeah,
it's exactly what he is. And there's enough other shit in those movies to hate that Jar Jar really falls by the wayside.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I dislike Jar Jar intensely, don't get me wrong. I think he's a terrible, awful character.
For him. And in fact, I don't have any strong feelings for him whatsoever. As far as I'm concerned, he can simply not exist.
Yep.
I love the Clone Wars cartoons, but I'll just skip a Jar Jar episode.
Yeah. Actually, the Clone Wars, the prequels movies, actually, interesting enough, actually changed my perception of one character from the original trilogy.
What's that?
R2-D2.
Oh yeah.
R2-D2 went from
getting it's the same R2-D2, honestly.
That's the thing is R2-D2 goes from sort of a lovable sidekicky type to a sociopathic murderer.
Yeah,
in the prequels,
to a murdering sociopath who was orchestrating everything behind the scenes, Palpatine-like.
I mean, seriously, go back and watch the prequels if you haven't, if you can stomach them, and watch what R2 does with C-3PO.
Yeah,
it's awful. He is constantly trying to get C-3PO killed,
usually for his own amusement.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason why I keep on forgetting that he's the same one from that he never had his brain wiped. Because, you do that with droids. But, yeah. And the fact that, R2 knew everything about what was going on and told no one. And we know he can communicate. He does it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't bother to tell anyone. Not as far as I can tell, but from any moral standpoint or being instructed by previous masters. He's just like...
R2 is an asshole.
Dead. Isn't that cool? What? R2. Yeah. I used to work for him. He was cool before he went all dark side. Bit of a whiner, though.
R2's an asshole. And I actually detest him now. Oh, God. But yeah, like the rest of the characters in the Clone Wars, in the prequels, I don't hate them for the most part. I mean, like Anakin's a badly done character, but that's mostly due to direction and writing.
Not enough to really talk about it so much, but I kinda hate Qui-Gon.
I could see that.
If only because he's so... He projects this air of the wise old mentor, but he's such a lying, backstabbing shit stain throughout the prequel that he's actually in. Like, he cheats at gambling. And it's not like he doesn't just go, well, you're going to give me your slaves because it's the right thing to do. Nope. Well, I'm going to buy your slaves. Nope. Well, then I'm going to steal them because, you know what, you left me with no other choice, and that's just the way it's going to be. Oh, and he leaves Anakin's mother behind. There's every opportunity to take her with them and leaves her behind. Fuck that bitch. I don't need you. I've got the chosen one right here. Screw you. It's pretty much his attitude. In fact, near as I can tell, there's nothing really keeping the slaves under Watto's thumb, his slaves, beyond, I don't know, the honor system.
Being stuck on Tatooine.
There are no collars, there's no tracking implants that they ever mention. They can just sort of wander off anytime they want.
Well, the problem is that they're stuck on Tatooine.
Yeah.
In the middle of fucking nowhere.
Except the opportunity is there to jump on the ship with the fucking queen, 14-year-old queen, seriously? That you elected? What?
Yeah, someone didn't really understand the concept of monarchy and democracy and...
I can understand...
Elected queen, wait, what?
More over that, why would you elect a fucking 14-year-old? Like, is it a popularity contest? Was she the most popular one on Naboo Idol? Anyway, let's not talk Star Wars.
You know what? Yeah, Star Wars, I do want to mention one thing. You know, I don't hate her, but she's pretty awful. Padme's a pretty awful person.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is just the result of improper socialization from puberty on, from near as I can tell.
Yeah, I don't know, but she's pretty awful.
Because she gives every indication that she wants to jump Anakin's bones and then yells at him every time he makes a move. The mixed signals this girl gives. And I understand, you know, she might not be aware of it because it's just her
upbringing.
Improper socialization from puberty on. So it's probably not her fault, but I can understand Anakin getting frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And that he should be, because, you know, the whole, like, oath of celibacy, which I don't think he was ever in a position to really think too far into. I got a lot of problems with how the Jedi work. There
are a lot of problems with... Yes, I agree. Yes.
Yeah, I got a lot of problems with the Jedi.
I can't blame you. Not arguing that point. Oh, actually, I just remembered some other characters I don't like. That I really don't like. The new Battlestar Galactica has a couple.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to start with... there are times I enjoy watching him, but for the most part, Baltar really just annoys the fuck out of me. I can't stand him.
So, I can totally see that.
Part of it is, I think, intentional, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's just that he pushes it to be up to a certain level that
You know who I ended up hating?
He's on my list of characters I thought about putting in this as characters I dislike.
And here's the thing, I understood where Dom was coming from. I understand what he was trying to do, but wasn't prepared or equipped to do the entire series up until the labor union episode.
Yep.
And that made me hate him.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's what happens for those that haven't seen the episode. They've got a ship dedicated to processing fuel for the other ships. That's what it does. The entire crew works there 7 days a week, 18-hour shifts with no time off at all. Been doing this for years at this point in the series, and they've started like bringing their kids in to pick up the slack because there aren't enough of them. It's a terrible, terrible situation. They're basically in, and the conditions are shown to be absolutely terrible. People get hurt all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're effectively slaves. And the chief, I can't remember his name, but he's basically the chief. He's sent over to get things back in order and processing properly so they can start meeting their quotas again. And he sees what's going on. And he does his best to toe the party line, but eventually he reaches a point where it's like, all right, this can't stand. And he does everything he can through proper channels. He mentions it repeatedly in meetings to his superiors, including to Adama and the president directly. Mm-hmm. And he keeps on getting blown off. He keeps on getting told, we'll solve this later. We can't solve this later. This is an emergency right now. But, well, it's just going to have to wait. So he eventually says, you know what? Fine. We're on strike. This is unconscionable what they're doing to you. You're on strike. Everyone stop. So what happens? Adama has the chief beaten, thrown in prison, takes his family, his wife and child, shoves them in an airlock, shows them on a video feed, and says, I'm going to push this button which will space them unless you end the strike right the fuck now. Mm-hmm. And it's just, fuck you, Adama. fuck you, and just there are no words.
Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. Well, as I've mentioned, I loathe the new Battlestar Galactica with a white-hot intensity for the most part. And that's one of the many reasons why. Yeah, Adama is very high on my list of...
And here's the thing, I liked Adama up to that point. I understood where he was coming from. I understood he didn't have the equipment, the skills or equipment to do what he was trying to do, but he was doing what he could anyway, because he had to. I respected that. But that point, it's just... Man, I hate that. I also loathe the president. God, she annoys me. It's a shame. Same issue with her. Exact same issue. I respected her trying to get the job done, despite not having the skill set, because someone had to do it, and she was the best one at the time. I understood that. I liked watching her struggle, but she was completely, not only complacent with Adama, she praised his actions. Fuck her too. See? That's the problem, is that the problem I have with that series as a whole is that the premise that these are people, a lot of people are way over their heads and they're doing the best they can. I accept. The problem is that they keep making these reprehensible choices and get self-congratulatory about it. Yeah. And I sit there and I'm watching this and I'm going, fuck no. Yeah. I loathe that show with a passion. I really I remember when that episode aired. I was over at Matt Gertman's at the time. And we ended up in this giant argument over this episode. Yeah, I don't like the show. So, Greenock in the chat asked me if there are any characters from Babylon 5 I hated. Yes, there are two. Oh, the telepath girl. Yeah, she is one of them. Lita Alexander, I grew to loathe. And Byron. And Byron would be the other one. Yes, Eric, well done. I just had to think about the ones I didn't like. You would hate them. They're awful. Lita, Lita was the... Okay, here's the thing. Lita Alexander was the original person who played the station telepath in the pilot. And they got rid of her because she's not a very good actress. She could not act her way out of a paper bag. And they were playing wet paper bag made out of tissue paper. And they brought in a new telepath character, Talia Winters, and her actress is actually decent. And eventually she left the show. It gets better over the course of the show. Right. And eventually she left the show, which was unfortunate because they had some really interesting sort of storylines with her and Ivanova and lots of interesting stuff that was going on between the two of them and stuff. And, well, the actress is leaving the show, so she's gone. And here's Talia, and here's Lita Alexander back. Okay, well, on the plus side, she's less awful as an actress now. She's gotten a little bit better. She's invested some skill points in her performance stat. Exactly. And up until season 5, she's there. And then season 5 happens, and the telepath plot happens, and her interactions with Byron happen, and she announces that she is a Vorlon superweapon at some point, and no. Marry Sue away! Go away, Lita. Yeah. Go the fuck away. And all I can say about Byron is Byron managed to make me root for Alfred Bester. I was rooting for Bester and the Cyclops. Hello, League of Unaligned Worlds. Hello, band of ragamuffin human telepaths. We want you to give us our own homeworld. Well, seeing as habitable worlds are a very precious resource and don't grow on trees, in fact, the only places trees that would grow planets could grow, no, we're kind of using all of them. We're willing to give you some colony space that we're not using on a few worlds. No, we need our own homeworld. You've got one. It's called Earth. No, Earth isn't good enough. Because you owe us. No, we don't. You do realize that there are telepaths other than human telepaths who fought in the war, right? Yeah. All the Centauri ones and the Minbari ones. And the ones from our own races. Now, admittedly, you guys... You can go fuck yourself, buddy. Yeah, you guys were kind of dragooned into it a little bit when we feel sorry for you, which is why we're even talking to you. This is why we're offering you colony space on some of our, that we're not using on our other worlds. You're welcome to settle there. You're welcome to even set up your own cities and habitats and everything there. Do your own thing. Just, no world of your own. You gotta share it. Well, we're remarkably generous. We're going to read your minds and steal all your secrets and blackmail you with them. Well, fuck you then. How did you think this would be a good idea?
You do realize that you were all in one very small area in the brown sector of Babylon 5, which we could just seal off and expose to vacuum, right? You know that, right?
Or not even exposed to vacuum, just leave you to starve.
Or pump in knockout gas and arrest you. Or we could just say, oh, by the way, the Psychops, yeah, they're here.
They're here. We could stick your worst enemy on you.
Or we could stop,
and they'll thank us they'll thank us and not demand a fucking planet in return.
Or we could simply, not hide you guys anymore. The way we are right now. And Beck points out the other fact is that Byron's cult, little Byron's cult, were telepaths who didn't actually fight in the war.
Right, because they were like, Earth forces dealt you a raw deal. We're willing to grant you asylum on our own worlds. Well, asylum's not good enough. What would be? Are you kidding? We want our own world. No, fuck you. We were using them.
Byron was a terrible character. And as I said, he made me root for Bester.
Yeah.
Bester is one of the great villains in science fiction. He's a great villain. This shouldn't happen. That realization of like, yeah, go Bester, take the... Why am I rooting for Bester? But yeah, Babylon 5 had characters I disliked intensely. Yep. I got onto the topic of Battlestar Galactica when we got onto that. Partially because of Star Wars, partially because someone in the chat mentioned Twiggy from Buck Rogers.
Twiggy.
Twiggy's annoying, but
Twiggy's annoying, but he's just sort of there.
And someone in the chat also brought up Scrappy Doo. Yeah, Scrappy sucked.
I feel almost kind of sorry for Scrappy, because he's trying so hard, and he's so earnest, but he's just so bad.
He's a terrible character. The problem is, I would hate him more. I hated him when I was a kid, more than I hate him now. Do you know why I hate him less now?
Scooby-Doo is
a terrible show.
Yes.
I don't hate him as much because I've realized the rest of the show isn't very good.
Although, to be fair, the Mystery Incorporated cartoon was not a worthless waste of space. That actually did some interesting things with the whole Scooby-Doo concept. I mean, I didn't really care about it one way or the other, but it at least did something interesting.
Yep. All right, I got a couple of questions. Got a couple of things here. Oh yeah, Ryu actually brings up. I was getting to those actually. We're getting to some characters from video games I was going to bring up. Okay, here's one that a lot of people hate that I know neither of us hate, which is Morrigan from Dragon Age. Morrigan from Dragon Age.
Oh, Morrigan's awesome.
As opposed to here's
I like Morrigan. She was the one I romanced in that series.
I found her entertaining also. Okay.
Claudia Black, how could you go wrong?
Anders. If you play Dragon Age Awakening, Anders is cool. Dragon Age 2 Anders is not the same character.
Yeah. Well, part of it is he's been driving a little crazy about having justice stuck in his head, but...
I fucking hate Anders.
Yeah, a lot of the shit he pulls just is not cool, dude.
Hate Anders. Hate him, 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 hate him. Alright, so how about any characters in Mass Effect that leap to mind that you hate? In the Mass Effect series.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, and...
the Council?
There's something I didn't bother to use too much, but I never...
They don't have to be necessarily party members. They could be other characters in the game.
Yeah.
The Council?
The Council annoyed me, but I didn't hate them. I saw them as they were short-sighted and too conservative to get anything done. I don't mean that politically, like too unwilling to commit to any resources at all, but I didn't hate them. My shepherd hated them, but I didn't.
Fair enough.
Miranda kind of annoyed me a little, but you know, I didn't have to be around her too much. Jack I found endlessly entertaining.
A lot of people dislike Ashley. I still, to this day, don't get it.
I kind of liked Ashley. I understand where you're coming from, the whole, like, where people might come from with the whole, but she's racist against aliens. And I'm like, I can understand where you got that, but that wasn't what I got from her.
Same.
She was just more cautious about having foreign nationals on their super secret mega ship.
Yeah. And and given Earth's experience with the having their first alien contact led to war,
yeah,
it's understandable. She's presented more as someone who's very patriotic and is wary.
Yes,
from a security standpoint, she actually doesn't.
She's a Valkyrie that quotes Tennyson at you. How could you not love that?
Yeah. Psycho guy in the chat mentions Titus from Final Fantasy X. Okay. He's asked us about it several times. I can't comment on Titus. I've not played Final
guy.
Yes.
Yeah, fuck him.
I've seen video clips of him and he seems immensely annoying. I've not actually played Final Fantasy X.
I could not play Final Fantasy X because of him. And there wasn't enough about the game that made me enjoy it otherwise to sit through scenes with him. So I just dropped it. I never got a chance to hate him.
Right.
But he made me not want to play the game.
Exactly. I never got to that point. So I've never played Final Fantasy X, so I can't comment on him. I can comment on. I don't hate him.
Yuffie.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's where I was ending up. I was going to say I was going to scroll through some of the other characters before I got to her. Like I like Final Fantasy VIII. You could say Squall, but I find him more boring than hating him.
Squall's just kind of boring.
Yeah, Cloud is again boring and not very interesting, but I don't hate him.
I kind of like Cloud because he's got the whole complete lunatic past. Tifa, I have a problem with because
Tifa, she's whatever.
My problem with Tifa is more that she's completely aware of Cloud's delusion, and yet at no point mentions it to anyone or to him.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But that's I can kind of see where she's coming from, that she doesn't want to set off a psychotic break.
Yep.
But at the same time, you should have probably mentioned it to, like,
Barrett,
someone, Eris,
the healer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Yuffie. All right, my hatred of Yuffie, and I loathe her with a blinding white-hot passion, is not really the fault of her character as written, although that's part of it.
Yeah. She
steals all your fucking materia, then you have to go get it back.
Yeah, it's like, we're fighting to save the world, right?
Yoink!
You can't sell the materia after it's destroyed. You know that, right? Actually, is the world in danger at that point, or is it just...
I don't remember. Really I just hated her. That was... Yoink! Runs away.
She mocks you the entire time.
But it's like, she shows up... Really yeah, oh god, yes. It was infuriating. I hated her. I never used her after that, despite the fact that she's one of the most broken characters in the game.
I didn't use her much because I really didn't find her all that interesting. Like, I had my boys Barrett and Eris, and then Eris died, and I was like, fuck, what do I do for a healer now? But...
I forget who I ended up using as a healer.
And Vincent, because he turned into a Frankenstein sometimes.
I didn't use Vincent very often. I used Red 13 a fair bit. Oh, fuck Yuffie. Oh, not in the fun way. Oh, go away. I hate her so much. So much. Oh. Oh. She might be my least favorite character in any video game, and that's saying something.
That is saying something.
Hater, 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 hater. I'm trying to think of the other character. Oh, God. Yeah, I can think of another character I hate in video games. Knights of the Republic 2, Kreia.
Kreia?
Kreia.
Kreia from...
Knights of the Republic 2.
I don't remember very well at all.
She's the main... She's totally not the villain. Yep, totally not the villain.
Oh, her. Okay.
The obvious villain that you see there that keeps mind-wiping the hero.
Right.
Fucking... And actually, from Dragon Age 1, and the reason I mentioned her, I hate her almost as much... I don't hate her quite as much. Fucking Flemeth.
Who?
Flemeth from Dragon Age.
Oh, right. Ah, I didn't hate her.
Oh, I hate Flemeth
I
so
actually
much.
found her mildly amusing up until I had to fight her dragon form.
Fuck you, Flemeth. Ugh. Fender in the chat mentions, can you mention all the dumb shit in the Old Republic?
I think that's actually Sith, but yeah. There are a lot of dumb Sith in the
Oh,
Old
it's not just
Republic.
that. There's just like all the random, like the various stupid things that are like, end up being like light side or dark side choices, like when you're playing a Jedi.
Yeah.
This is a dark side choice.
Jedi and fucking the Old Republic are just dumb as stumps also.
Yes. Yes, it turns out that, you know, force powers, while they are amazing and do crazy things, turn you into morons, apparently.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Grr, you killed my master, bounty hunter. So I'm going, instead of trying to bring you to justice for all the things you did do, I'm going to make a bunch of shit you didn't do because I can't bother to do research.
Yeah. 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 So, we've been going long enough, I think, for today.
Yeah.
I'm certain there are characters we load that we've forgotten to mention.
Oh, certainly. Almost certainly.
Yeah. But we've been going for more than an hour and 10 minutes now, I think, so we should probably wrap things up. Thanks, everyone, for watching today. We normally try to save time at the end of each show to answer your questions. We've run over today, so no questions this week. If you want us to answer your questions on the show, please send them to us. We have an email address you can send them to us at, which is surlygrognards@yahoo.com. That is surlygrognards@yahoo.com. Or you can post them on our forums, which you can find at mechagm.forumer.com. If you've got feedback for us, constructive criticism, or telling us we rock, we love both. You can send them to both places. Also, if you got show topic suggestions, we love getting those. Even if we don't end up using them, we love getting them just because it can often spark ideas that pop into our heads and such. And if you got or just anything like that, or you just want to say hi, feel free to send them to us either of those places. Our email address or the forums. Or if you'd like, you can hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle's @mechagm. I post when we're going to be doing the show right before I bring the stream up, and if we're going to be late or have to punt for weeks on my Twitter feed, so it's a good place to keep an eye on things. My Twitter handle is, again, @mechagm. You can find me both on Google Plus and Facebook. I'm Peter Bowman in both places. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Which is, of course, twitch.tv/mechagm. We record live at 7 p.m. Eastern here. I'm forgetting anything?
I don't know. Honestly, when you do this spiel, I kind of tune out.
Fair enough. Oh, right. You can find earlier recordings of the show on my blog, which you can find at mechagm.blogspot.com. That's the bit I forgot.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of important.
Old recordings, who knew? We're a little bit punchy tonight, folks.
We are. Sorry, I suffer from Dave syndrome, and I got like over 80 degrees today.
Yeah, neither of us like the heat, and it's got up to 80 degrees here in Boston today, and we're not happy. It's supposed to be back down to the 50s tomorrow. Thumbs up as far as we're concerned. Until we see you guys next, though, be happy, be safe, keep on gaming. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.